Alright, EGBE slash Palooka. It's time to do this. Sorry for lofting for so long. I'm gonna do this one first, and then when I get back from the gym, I'm gonna go and do your one wish, because that's a longer video. Anyways, 8 seconds long. Thank you for 100. Thanks for 100 subscribers. Let's see what it's about. Ooh, I like these leg
Thanks for
swings.
100 subscribers.
And the little cake. He tried to eat a muffin. Is that a muffin or a cake? And I think that's pretty much it. Alright, so this is gonna be kind of quick because it's not much to really talk about. Because it's a short video. But I do like this leg swaying here. It's really nice. You know, you have a so what I really like about it especially is the ending of it. So you have so let's look at the leg that's closest to the camera right now. Right now it's on the ground, and then you have one small instance of it moving up a bit, and because it's already kind of like moving up like a little bit high, it looks like he's lifting it with a lot of force that gives it momentum, and then that momentum comes to a halt here, which is nice. And then you add this extra bit here, which kind of maybe breaks a bit of the arc, because it's clear that here you're smoothing it down by slowing it down, because these two increments are very small, but then it lifts a lot more here when it goes from here to here. So it's a little strange, but it's actually not that noticeable in the actual animation. And then you drop back down into the resting position, which is nice. And you even give the resting position a little bit of a bounce. You know, nothing ever stands completely still, which is important. And I think that makes it, like go like a longer way. I think maybe the last two leg swings kind of don't work as well. I think this first one probably works the best, honestly, because you have that clear point, right? Look, you can see the leg lifts up once and then again, and then it reaches its apex. And at its apex, it still kind of moves just a tiny bit more, but it's a nice slowdown. You know, it's like a gradual, consistent slowdown. You have, let's say, if the distance between this frame and this frame was like 2 centimeters, you'd be going like 2 centimeters, then 1 centimeter, and then you go down another centimeter, which is like, you know, it's like 2, 1, 1, 2. Well, I guess that would be more like 3 centimeters in between there. But like having that sort of slow down and speed up is very important, and you have to make sure you keep it consistent. And you're doing that, which is nice. I think maybe it kind of loses its flavor a bit here. I think maybe it's just because this position and that position is just too far apart for the leg that is the furthest from the camera. I'm talking about the leg that's furthest from the camera still. So it kind of drops down like an anchor really, really quickly, which I still don't think is like jarring or anything, because you do something very important, and that's when it actually reaches its end, you give it an extra frame of it kind of settling a bit, and that is like the biggest thing that can really offset any animation mistakes or any like thing that looks a little bit janky or fast. That just kind of adds like a smoother to it, which really, really sells it. And I think it looks nice. I think it all looks really nice. The leg swing is pretty good. I guess the only thing I would want to say is that if you're trying to go for more of a more smoother humanistic, I don't know if that's a word, style, you could add some more frames at the startup. Maybe like one extra frame. Let's say with the left leg, that the one that's facing us. You add maybe one frame of just a tiny increment of movement, and then you jump into this frame, and then you jump into that frame, which is, you know, it's point that it reaches. And then you kind of stop it for a bit, and maybe you can add, because as you can see, so you get to the last point, or whatever, like you get to the point where it begins to slow down, right? And you slow down for about 2 extra frames before it drops back down. If you slow down for maybe 3 or even 4 frames, and you have that gradual slowdown and then gradual pickup again, it can make it look like he's swaying with a lot less care, like he's kind of lazy, which is, you know, I don't know if that's exactly what you're going for, but it's something you can try out if you want to like kind of expand. And I think it's nice. I do think this is nice, because I think with this method though, he looks like he's more excited, which is important because he's looking at a birthday cake or like at a muffin, because he's excited about 100 subscribers. Anyways, let's get into the next part of the animation.
Thanks for 100 subscribers.
So I think maybe this is not quite as clean. I still think it's pretty nice though. You have the slow startup, and then you have him touching the muffin. I think the issue is the muffin kind of just bounces away too fast, and not only that, but you stop his arm from opening up in this frame. So if you can see earlier, every frame his arm opens up a bit more, but then it just stops, and he also stops on a dime too. He may be stopping too quickly. You know, you
Thanks
don't
for
really
100
offset this one like you were offsetting the legs. And that, I think, kind of maybe can contribute to it not looking as clean. But we learn. And just make sure that you're always extending this arm. You know, if any body part is moving, you got to make sure it's always moving until it reaches its stopping point, until you settle it down, until you slow it down. It's extending, but now it's not extending, which kind of
100 subscribers.
maybe doesn't work as well. So let's see this part. But the cake sliding is nice. The cake sliding is not bad. I think maybe it
100 subscribers.
it gets hit a little bit too hard. Given that he doesn't really seem like he's touching it that hard. It looks like he punched it, but he kind of just reached out and extended it, his arm, so it doesn't really maybe match. But the actual animation itself of the cake sliding away is nice, and it spins too. Nice detail. So let's see what we got here. Okay, nice starting frame here to get him up off the ground, and then it extends into that. And I think maybe here it also kind of slows down a bit. I think the reason why is because you have his direction is clearly up and down here, right? So if you want to make this look as good as possible, you need to make sure he keeps going up in the exact same direction, and that his arms keep extending inwards while his legs also do this little arch thing that you see right here. You got to make sure all these body parts are moving in the exact same way until you slow it down to a stop. There is no slowdown here because it goes straight into the next frame of him dragging his body forward. So because of that, this makes this part look a little bit wonky. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm roasting your video. I swear to God, I'm not. Just offering my insight. I can see. Okay, so I can see watching the whole thing over again that there is an offset here, and that's nice because it kind of helps us to accept the animation as lifelike. When he settles at the end, right there, when he does a little bounce, that's good. He does this, he goes forward, and then he goes back a bit. He settles. That's what you need to be doing for each and every single movement before he shifts his entire, his entire positioning, his entire arc. Yeah, here he's just too much to the left. I think this actual pose would actually work if, you don't even have to change, the way he's posed up at all. It's just where he's positioned in the frame. He's a little bit too far to the left here. He slides forward too much. And then here, maybe I wouldn't exactly go for this immediately, especially given that there's not much of a difference in the pose between this pose and this pose. You don't really do much to really ease into this next pose here, which kind of makes it look a little wonky. As you can see, you can kind of see this pose in particular a little bit longer in the animation. So yeah, that's something I would just recommend. You just need to make sure that every single time you're moving a body part, or the character is moving up or down or all around, you have to make sure that before you get them moving into another direction, they have to smoothly complete this arc before they transition to the next one. And it seems more like the guy is kind of just... These poses are pretty similar, but there's too much of a jump and a gap in between these increments to really feel naturalistic. Interesting. I like this because it looks like he's popping, he's popping and locking towards the cupcake. Nice first frame here. This could, it's a very small movement, and you can easily transition to this into a very heavy kind of weight pulling, he's dragging himself towards the cupcake. I think maybe this speed is a bit too fast. You jump from one frame of a really small incremental frame to this huge jump. And that might not work as well because really small does not really translate well into really big unless you have at least 2 or 3 small frames in front of that huge jump. And they have to be gradually progressing in incremental movements as well. So this might be a huge jump. But that offset, again, this offset really does help to sell it. So it looks a lot more cartoonish. It looks a lot more popping in and out. And if you're not going for that naturalistic vibe, it's fine. I do think maybe this cartoonish look can still benefit from maybe one extra frame of him extending his arm outwards before he makes this big jump, and then having one extra frame of him settling down. So right now this is about 4 frames it takes for him to crawl towards the cupcake. I'd say maybe adding an extra 2 on each pose, this pose and that pose, as in adding an extra 1 frame of this pose where he's reaching his arm out, and then adding an extra frame on this pose where he's settling down could probably sell the effect a little bit better and make it look a little bit less, I guess,
Thanks
like
for 100
extremely like fast. I don't even know if popping is the word. It kind of looks like I don't want to say he's teleporting because there's clearly movement, and you can see the movement in the character and how they're moving themselves forward. I think that pop looks pretty nice. It definitely has like a signature to it, you know, like a style. And I think the offset in particular is what really makes it, you know, more believable. Maybe I think when you have a character dragging himself forward, you got to make sure that whatever arm he's using to drag himself forward, in this case, his dominant weight arm is the left arm because he's putting all that weight on his left arm and he's using that to move himself forward. You got to make sure that that arm stays in the exact same spot. That can't move because the body has to move around it. It's like pressing the arm into the ground, so the ground, like, so the arm shouldn't be moving. But still, I still think it looks pretty fine. Nice amount of frames here, and then the cake just drags him away.
400 subscribers.
It's pretty nice. I actually do like. I'm sorry if it sounds like I was like just critiquing the heck out of it. I do think it looks nice. There's just very small, subtle steps that you can take to make it look even nicer. But it does already look pretty well done as it is. Like these leg flips and these crawls, they look nice. I think maybe when he gets pulled away, you might want to do a little bit more of an ease into it as well, because you kind of, when he gets dragged away, might be a bit fast. I'd say add more to the start again. Add more frames of it incrementally getting more and more wider, as like the movements. Each movement gets a little bit wider, and then you can jump into it. So this is only about, let's see, 1, 2, and then immediately jumps forward. I'm not sure if 2 is quite enough. Maybe 3 or 4 would help. And also he moves off screen a bit too fast. Here, I'd say maybe have 1 more frame of just his legs in the shot, like the edge of his legs. You can make it really look like he got dragged away. But aside from that, I do like the video. I think the animation is nice. I think, you know, you have the small details there, and you do things to really offset maybe the not as clean movements that make that makes the whole thing a lot more, you know, like just like nice to watch.
Thanks for 100
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I'll get to the year 1 wish soon. I'm just gonna I have a few errands to run after I go to the gym. But yeah, I hope this was helpful, Palooka. Sorry for the wait. Peace.